So what is the pharmaceutical industry? Well, basically, it's an industry that develops, manufactures, and sells FDA-approved drugs. And you can see more of that in part 1 of this series. A little history. Human beings have been using drugs to treat illness and disease for more than 3,000 years. A few dozen drugs of plant and animal origin were already recorded in China around 1100 BCE. And by the end of the 16th century, the Chinese were using at least 1,900 different remedies. Today, traditional Chinese medicine recognizes more than 13,000 drugs. In the late 18th century, the foundations of pharmacology, which is the study of the actions of drugs and how they exert their effects, began to emerge. In the 1780s, William Withering was one of the first people to study and isolate the active ingredient in an herbal remedy. And in the 19th century, Oswald, and I can't say his last name, a professor of pharmacology, became known as the father of pharmacology. And basically what he did, he was the first to introduce the concept of pharmacodynamics, which is what the body does to the drug, and pharmacokinetics, which is what the drug actually does to the body. And more of this in part 3 of the series. So medication saves lives, right? They do. But there are many variables to take into consideration. No drug works the same in every person. The more medications one takes, the higher the likelihood of a drug-drug interactions or drugs interacting with each other. Generics, although cheaper, are not always safer or as effective. Many medications are unreachable due to cost. And because cost is such a huge issue in the United States today, cost is what I'll be primarily focusing on in this video. So let's talk about the patient, ourselves. The average person spends about $1,300 a year on medications. 1 in 4 have a hard time affording their medications. 8 in 10 say the cost of prescription drugs, they're unreasonable. Let's take diabetes medicines, for example. The cost can range anywhere from $10 to over $1,000. Cost of hypertension treatment can range from $10 to over $2,000. Cost of cancer treatment can be upwards of $400,000 a year. I personally don't know anybody who makes that much money. About 44% of people stop taking their medicine because of cost. And what happens because of that? Increased hospitalizations, increased deaths. Something to think about. So on this slide, you will see the top 3 pharmaceutical companies and as far as their revenue with manufacturing and selling brand drugs. As you will see in bullet 1, this is each company's revenue for 2021. Bullet 2 is their profits. And bullet 3, their approximate number of manufactured medications. So Johnson & Johnson wins for their top revenue at over $93 billion, with profits of just under $21 billion. As you can see with Pfizer, $81 billion in revenue with just under $22 billion in profit. And Roche, $68 billion in revenue and $15 billion in profit. And as you can see in this slide, there's multiple other pharmaceutical companies out there. Merck, Novartis, Moderna, Eli Lilly, Sanofi, and there's much more. So what about generic medications? Aren't they just as good? Well, they can be. A generic drug is a medication created to be the same as the already marketed brand name drug. They have to be the same in dosage, safety, strength, route of administration, quality, performance, characteristics, and intended use. These similarities help to demonstrate bioequivalence, which means that a generic medicine works in the same way and provides the same clinical benefit as the brand name medicine. In other words, you can take a generic medicine as an equal substitute for its brand name counterpart. Sounds great, right? Not always. Approximately 10,000 FDA-approved generic drugs are available today. So in summary about medications, basically they are interchangeable with a brand medicine. They're manufactured without the brand company license, and they are marketed after the patent or other exclusive rights expire. And you can learn more about that on part 1 of this series. So what's so good about them? Again, the same as the brand, but with certain limited exceptions. The FDA generic drug program monitors that the company meets specific standards. Of course, a big positive is that they're much less than cost, 80 to 85% less, which this have saved the U.S. healthcare system $2.2 trillion over the course of 10 years. So, are there negatives? There are. They may have certain, quote unquote, reportedly medically insignificant minor differences from the brand. While the active ingredients are supposed to be the same, the inactive may be different, which may contribute to adverse events. They do not have to repeat animal or human studies as mandated in brand name medicines to demonstrate safety and effectiveness. So no studies. So who are the top 3 winning revenue for generic companies? Now again, some generic medicines are made by companies who also sell brand medicines as well. So as you can see here, here's the top 3 revenue. Teva being the first, Novartis being the second, and Viatris the third. And as you can see, the revenues are much less than in brand medications. However, they make many more generics. I was interested in seeing what are the top most expensive brand medications out there. The top 4 are for conditions of the immune system, such as rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, and there's many others. These medications can cost anywhere from $6,000 to $9,000 a month. Dupixent is for moderate to severe eczema. As you can see, this can cost over $5,000 a month. Biktarvy, Genvoya, Descovy, and Tivicay They're all for HIV or HIV prevention, anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month. And Latuda, which is for mood disorder, over $1,600 a month. I personally couldn't afford any one of these medicines. So if they're making so much money, why are they doing this? Why aren't they reducing their prices to help the U.S. population? Well, overall, this is saying the lowering the U.S. drug prices would likely have an impact on overall incentives to make more drugs. Lowering prices will make investing in drug development less attractive for private investors, leading to fewer new medicines coming out to the market. Did you know that 2/3 of Congress cashed a pharma campaign check in 2020? Something to think about. I wanted to add this link, this YouTube video, on my YouTube video. Basically, this will summarize it all. It's about a 2 or 3 minute video that I highly recommend watching. So this comes to the end of video 3 part 2, the pharmaceutical industry. I hope you enjoyed it. Next video will be video 3 part 3, your medications. Basically how we put everyone in the same box, going a little bit over pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics. Polypharmacy, how so many of us are taking so many medications and how they're interacting with each other. Medical errors. And then lastly will be all about the pharmacies, how they're so overloaded and stressed. Again, thank you for going over all of these videos. I hope you find them interesting, and if you have any questions or concerns or comments, please post below. All the references will be here and listed below. Thank you.